I think the biggest thing that I've learned this year is how to practice. I'm 38. Hello, losers. This is Rob Grundle, episode 5 of Rob Reacts to His Own Life. And I've had lots of conversation in the last few days about practice. I want to try and link all that together. That's my keyboard in the background. So I might do a little accompaniment while we do this. So practice. There's 3 areas where I've really experienced the power of practice this year. And that is in yoga, skateboarding, and piano. And in all 3 of those areas, there's something that I experience whenever I approach the mat, whatever you want to say, whatever your mat is. But in this case, the skate park, the piano, the keyboard, or the literal yoga mat. So I want to first talk about how those practice areas are set up and then what I experience in those practice areas. So with skateboarding, I was 17 when I was a skater with my friends, and I bought a skateboard because everyone else was skating, but everyone was better than me, and I never gave myself the time to actually find the joy in getting better at stuff. It was always just looking around at what the other kids were doing. And so I had a massive fall, and then I called it a day. Still got the scar there. You can see that some other time. With 2 kids, just recently they've started watching skate videos, and they said, let's go to the skate park. And so we do that, and I got on a skateboard again, and I realized I love it. Now, being 38, I've got nothing to prove anymore. I've got absolutely nothing to prove. I'm never going to be a world-class skater. I don't care if people think I'm cool or not on it. But what I love now is just the learning of it. Equally in yoga, this year, I managed to find an attitude, I think through a culmination of lots of other experience, where I can now view yoga as my own practice. And that means that if I come to a yoga class, and in the past I would always look at the teacher as being the authority, and I'd want to please them and get it right. But now what I see is that the yoga teacher or the leader is just holding the bowl for my own practice, for wherever I am physically on that day. They're just providing the grist for the mill for me to have my own practice. And if that means that for half an hour I'm in child's pose and not following the class, that's fine, because I pay for that class. It's my practice and I'm building my own body. Yeah. And that's a new attitude this year only, my friend. What's the last one? Piano. So I've been playing piano forever, and I can do this. And I can do this. Alright, so I can play some stuff. What I don't do and haven't done for a very long time on my piano is practice. And so this year I bought the Open Jazz Studios Elements of Jazz course just to have a practice routine around something that's going to build my technique and my time. It's not so that I can get better, or it's not so that, but it's so that I can actually have a practice area. And guess what I found? I find it really hard to do this. I'll show you what that sounds like. It sounds like this. That's in C. Now let me do that in B flat. Oh. Well, whatever. So what I've been doing the last probably about a month is 30 minutes of piano practice a day, irrespective of anything else that I do. And they've got a really great structure of how to practice, and they set up practice things, and it's all based around songs, which makes it really awesome. It's a really well-structured course. So I have my skateboard practice, so I probably do that once a week with the kids. Last week I did 3 hours at the indoor skate park. I've got my yoga practice. I do that twice a week, hopefully at Catford at the Yoga House London. And I do piano practice, half an hour a day. Okay, so those are my 3 areas of practice. What is all that leading to? What is the outcome of all of this? The outcome of all of this is practice. is mastery. That's the key thing for me, is mastery. That I want to master at something. And mastery, like enlightenment, isn't a place where it's like, finally I'm a master. But mastery, my belief is that every day you turn up to practice. And there's a really big part of that to me, which I find in practice almost every day, in whichever those 3 areas of practice that I'm doing, is that I find that I suck. And there's an amazing humility in that. Even though I might have learned this one, tomorrow I'm going to turn the page and I'm going to do this one. And guess what? I'm going to suck at that. I might suck at this one for maybe a day or 2 days or a week or 3 weeks. But mastery is actually being willing to sit down every day and be humble and go, today is today. I suck at something and I'm going to begin. And within that, there is something around death and creation. And death and creation, I think, are so inextricably linked. When God created the world, there was nothing, and then from out of nothing there came something. And that as the creative act. There was nothing, there was darkness, and there was no form, and all of a sudden there was form. On Sunday, when I went to the skate park, the indoor skate park, for 3 hours, and then toward the end, I started to do turns on the transition, which I've never done before. Prior to Sunday, I had never done turns on a transition before, and I saw this 10-year-old kid doing it. And I looked at him and I thought, I think I can try that. And my first one didn't work, and my second one didn't work, and my third one didn't work, and my fourth one didn't work, and my fifth one I fell off, and my sixth, and then eventually I got a little bit of a turn, and I'm going this high up the transition and then getting a little turn. So there was nothing, and then all of a sudden there was something. And sometimes the gap between nothing and something takes a really long time. Which is why practice isn't about the outcome. It's about being willing to be humble and just doing that time daily. For me, the practice today doesn't mean anything if I don't do the practice tomorrow. The practice today doesn't mean anything if I don't do the practice tomorrow. It's the experience of death and creation, and experiencing that and willing to be experiencing that every day. Now, there's probably a few aspects within practice that are important to me. I think practice should always be a joyful experience, or if that's not quite the right word, but as soon as you get angry or overworked or bored, then it's no longer useful. So practice at 70%. Practice well within your comfort range. Like, practice something new in a way which isn't pushing you to the limit. An example of this might be if you're a marathon runner and you download a marathon training plan. I've never done a marathon. You don't actually ever do a marathon before you actually do the marathon. Like, your last run before a marathon is something like, 20 something K or whatever it might be. So you never run a full marathon. All your practice leading up to the marathon is always less than the marathon. And in the same way, your practice should be well within your means, even though it is something new. So I'd say practice at 50% or 70%. So if I analogize that to the skate park, man, I got that. I went up the transition, down the transition, and did the fakie 180, and I got relatively okay at it within probably 45 minutes, and then I spent another 45 minutes just doing it and going faster and going faster and going faster. So just gradually expanding it rather than going straight to maximum. Yeah, and if you get angry with yourself, then you're starting to cause trauma as well. I think so much of the physical practice that I've done before this year in yoga has been done with anger. Whereas CrossFit was definitely true. Come on, stupid body, do it, And same with playing keyboard. Like, if I do practice with keyboard, it's like, why can't I get this thing yet? So the attitude you take to practice is really important, and noticing that. And then if it's not working for you, if you're trying too much or something too big, then go down to something smaller and it's more joyful to you. If you think, I was talking to my friend Tony this morning, and he was talking about the battlefield. When you're in the battlefield, then you go to 100%. So you practice for the marathon. You never run an actual marathon, but in the marathon, you actually run a marathon. In the same way, I do all this practice on the keyboard. My battlefield would be whenever I do a gig. And then some amazing things might come out, or I might push myself hard. It's a completely different mode to be in, but that's when the practice manifests. with skateboarding, I don't think I have a battlefield yet for skateboarding, and that's fine for me. At the moment, just the practice of skateboarding is enough within itself. And with my physical practice, with my yoga practice, I think the battlefield is whenever I need to be physically present or physically able to do something, which might be something like running for a bus, or just having the energy, you know, to be with my family or to be at work or to run through this particular workshop. That's when the grounding and all the physical practice actually comes into play. That's the battlefield for it. So there you go. There's some reflections on practice. I think it's very important for me to have a practice. It's very important for me to experience that humility in death, and then the creation that comes from that, and to experience that regularly. I think without that, it's very easy for us as humans, for us to speak for me, to become very listless and groundless, thinking that I'm over here, you know, or I'm an expert or anything like that. The ego starts to build, and with practice, it kills the ego dead. And also practice gives me so much joy, even though that might be eventually. So my first few sessions of yoga were difficult. My first few practice sessions on the keyboard were, what's happening here? I'm not sure what this is doing. Like you're not going to notice a change straight away. You're not going to have an outcome straight away. But eventually you're going to see shifts, and there's just so much joy in seeing those shifts and understanding the value of practice. Yeah, that's all I have to say today. It's actually time for me to do my piano practice. If you are a keyboardist and you're looking for a good jazz course, check out Open Jazz Studios. I'll link them below. I might even give you a bonus vid of me practicing, so you can see what that feels like. I'll do that actually tomorrow. I can't do it today, but tomorrow I'll do a live practice video. So it's going to be a half an hour video. I'm going to go through what I'll do for my normal practice. It'll be a bit weird because I'll be talking while I'm doing it, which I normally don't do. So it'll be slightly artificial, but we'll do that tomorrow. So yeah, tune in then. But now I'm going to do my own practice. All right. I love you, and see you tomorrow.